So I've just created this short video to help those of you who are perhaps new to being a team lead or a squad lead, and start to introduce some of the concepts around combat appreciation. Combat appreciation is really about thinking about what's going to happen and helping to formulate your plans either for an initial recce or potentially for an assault. But what we're going to do here is we're just going to do some combat appreciation for a recce. So let's look at the map. So there we are up in the top left hand corner, our current position, and down to the southeast of us is Stari Sabor, and in Stari Sabor there are reports of enemy infantry. Our mission is to go and do a recce, potentially to go and do an assault, or we may be tasked to call in indirect fire. Now what can we do to do a recce? Well, we can look at where there's high ground that might give us eyes onto the objective. We've got Hill 361 up here. We've also got over to the east of us now Hill 324, and we've got Hill 355. Those all potentially could give us some eyes onto the objective. And if we look further south, there are no great opportunities really, and because of the tactical situation it might be too risky to move further in that direction. 324 is probably not a great option because it's a long way out, but 355 doesn't look bad. It does give us potential eyes into the village. And there's a tree line, there are some trees up there on the hill that might give us some concealment. So potentially we could move up there and then move through the trees and try and get eyes on, so we get a better understanding about what's going on in that village. So that's our first option. So let's maybe consider how we'll move up there in the rover. We'll drive up to that location and we'll do an initial recce from that first position and just see what it's like as a recce location. So here we are at location 1. Our objective is down to the southeast, so we're going to move around the trees and move to a first a potential recce location. So here we are. So there's our potential rough axis that we want eyes on into the village. There's this little copse here that we could move to, but there's a lot of open ground between there. However, down here there is a group of little copses where we could potentially move down here, round through the trees to this location. So let's maybe try that and start moving down that way and see how that looks. Our objective, we're not going to be forced to go there, but we'll start heading that way and see how good things look as we move. One of the things that's quite important is to try, in my experience, is to try and be really flexible with your plans. Just because you've set an objective, you don't necessarily commit to do it. Once you're on the ground, you may see that things are different. So we're about 250 meters away from that point which I put in as maybe our direction. And as you can see here, although it's marked as woodland in Arma particularly is very variable. Sometimes it's very dense, and in this case it's not very dense at all. It gives us some concealment, it gives us very little cover from fire, but it's not far from perfect. As we get to the edge of this first copse, you can see that in effect we've just got kind of two lines of trees, and our route will be down on that right hand line of trees. So before we commit any further, it might be worth kind of moving to a position here where we can see what quality of eyes we would get on the village. And there's a village down there. So we'll get the optics out and have a look and see what kind of quality of recce we could do from here. And as you can see, it's not great. We've got trees over on the northern side which block our view, and also the village itself is in dead ground from where we are now and from where we would be if we move further forward. So the quality of recce that we could do from this position is not great. We probably could do better. So let's reset and let's think about, okay, we're still not compromised. Let's reset from here. We're not going to go all the way down there. The trees are in the way. The village is in that valley. So let's maybe think about what else we could do. And one of the things that we did when we did our combat appreciation was we looked at other options, and one of those other options was Hill 355 over to the east. So just remove those lines from the map, and we're going to consider move into a position over on the maybe on the northeast of Hill 355 in the rover, and then from there we could move on foot to see what recce opportunities we've got there. So that's where we're going to move to. So let's head back to the rover, and let's move to location number 2. And by the magic of YouTube, we're going to move around, draw a line around the trees here, retracing our steps back towards Cabinino. This is really important. Cutting across the road, and then using the terrain, the contouring, and then some of the tree cover, we'll move to that position there that I've marked as a waypoint on the map. And here we are. Now we're in this second location where the village is down to our south. So let's jump out of the rover and start moving on foot. You'll see I've drawn this line, which is the wiggly line is the foot route where there's a gap. From there, let's see what kind of eyes on we could get down into the village, which is a straight line. So here we are at that location, and let's see what kind of eyes on we can get from here. Well, there's the village. We're a lot closer, and it's not great for concealment, is it? There is some sporadic cover, sporadic concealment, some bushes and trees around. We could get quite good eyes on from here, but we might well get spotted from here. So again, we're not committed to this objective. We can reset. We can look at the map. We can think about what other options we've got. And further to the east, if we have a quick look at the map, you'll see some rocks. Now we don't know how big or small those rocks are, but they might give us better concealment, and they may well give us cover from fire, which we don't currently have. It may not be that great, we don't know, but let's go and see. Well, it's not that great, it's just a low wall with some kind of ruin. But here we are. Let's move down. We've got much better concealment. It's denser and more bushy. And if we move forward into a position where we'll get closer in so that we can drop down and get to a point where we can get our optics on the village. We've got good eyes down to the southwest. And we've also got good eyes. So from here, from this position, great eyes up to the southwest, where some of you guys could look on. Down to the south, we've got good eyes as well. So we've got pretty good concealment here. And from here, you can see, yeah, we've got much, much better eyes into the village. There's a patrol we can see. We can look around any other objects. There's a fuel truck. Now, fuel truck normally denotes that it's a support vehicle for some other vehicles, so we don't know what those other vehicles are, but it's a signal. It's intel. And from this different location we've moved to, we've got a much better opportunity to do a decent combat appreciation before we either call in, for example, indirect fire, CAS, or maybe get ourselves set up on our own or with other squads to carry out an assault on the village. So, as I said, this is just a simple little video for those of you who just start to think about you're moving into the kind of leadership positions where you have to think a bit differently, and you need to start formulating plans for your guys to follow. And just start thinking about how you use the ground most effectively, what you can learn from looking at the map in terms of what the ground can offer you, and then just start practicing some of these things. You can do this sort of stuff in the editor even, and just see how close, what good recce locations you could find to get onto an objective where you'll get good eyes on, and then cross-reference that back to the map and the contours and the vegetation. Hope this has been useful. Hope you enjoy it. Cheers.